Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another AP Sports video today. Today we'll be talking about the Lakers, their offseason, kind of what they did. But first off, just want to say thank you all so much for the support on the most recent video about the Bulls. Archer did a great job that video, and I was super glad that all of y'all liked it. So for the new subscribers, this is kind of what's up. We talk a lot of basketball. Football season's coming around, so we might talk a little bit of football. Yeah, we'll see. So just let us know what y'all want to see, I guess, from this channel in the comments, and let's get into the video. So, when we're talking about the Lakers offseason, obviously massive move. They traded for Russell Westbrook from the Washington Wizards. They ended up giving up in that trade Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, a first rounder that turned into Isaiah Jackson at pick 22, and they received Westbrook in 2 seconds. Really good trade. You obviously lose Kyle Kuzma, who's like, as much as he gets clowned on, not necessarily a poor defender. At least a decent rebounder, can hit threes occasionally. KCP I really like as a role player. Great 3-and-D. Montrezl Harrell, former 6th man of the year, kind of lost his groove with the Lakers, it felt like. He didn't match up well with DeAndre Ayton in the first round, so it was really hard for them to play him. And yeah, obviously Russell Westbrook's going to be great for him. He's a superstar, and I don't want to necessarily throw a number on it because that's not what this video is about. But he's one of the better point guards of all time. Statistically, you could even argue, he's top 3. Like, his statistics are incredible throughout his entire career. So, you know what you're getting at least, and you get 2 seconds. So this offseason, they lost guys like Caruso, Schroeder. It's looking like is out the door. It's not official yet. Markieff Morris, Wesley Matthews, Andre Drummond, Ben McLemore, Jared Dudley. So those aren't necessarily massive losses other than Caruso, who I believe was a really good defender and energy guy off the bench. And then Schroeder, who was their starting point guard this last season. Schroeder was really disappointing in the playoffs, but he honestly is not an awful player. So I guess that kind of stinks, but they already have LeBron to kind of play a point guard role, and they just picked up Russell Westbrook, so I don't really see him having a spot on this team anyways. So this year, they gained in free agency Carmelo Anthony, Kent Bazemore, Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, Wayne Ellington. All those guys are on veteran minimum deals. Then some younger guys, and Kendrick Nunn on a 2-year, $10 million deal. Malik Monk, who also signed a minimum deal. And then they're also able to retain Taylor Horton-Tucker on a 3-year, $32 million deal. And Marc Gasol's still on this team as well. So, with that being said, you look at some of the guys they gained. They're all really old. And at least Carmelo Anthony, Kent Bazemore, Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, and Wayne Ellington are. And they already have Marc Gasol. So that's not a lot of foot speed. None of those guys are really going to be able to keep up with you all that well, and I worry defensively for some of those older role players just because they're older. They're going to be able to get blown by pretty easily, so Anthony Davis is going to have to be incredible on the defensive end this year. I'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, those were the moves they made this offseason. So I would definitely give them, this video is not necessarily grading it, but I mean they had one of the better off seasons in the NBA, for sure. Anytime you can add a third superstar to your team that basically makes you a finals contender for sure. They were already contenders; they are even more now. That's pretty impressive. Positives here. So 3 superstars, obviously super impressive. Immediate contender: Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. That's a finals team. Now, Russ is a very, very good regular season player. They did struggle in the regular season last year with LeBron being injured, Anthony Davis being injured. At times, they'd come out of games really, really slow. It didn't feel like the energy was there. That's not going to happen with Russell Westbrook. He's going to bring energy. He's going to hold other guys accountable. And I even think including LeBron potentially. And I think that he would, LeBron would respond well to that because he's not a guy that wants to lose either. So regular season-wise, I don't think they're going to be a 7 seed again. I think that was sort of an anomaly with injuries. And honestly, I think home court advantage is something that really, really helps. You saw them lose this last year, so, maybe that made a pretty big difference there. Shooting-ish, I say ish because it's still not the best shooting team in the world, but it's a positive, They didn't have a lot of money to work with, and they were still able to bring on a lot more shooting than I thought they could. Melo, Bazemore, Ariza, Ellington, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk, all those guys are great 3-point shooters. That's something you're going to need around Russell Westbrook and LeBron James. So very good on the Lakers for doing that with not a lot of money. There was a point this offseason where they only had 5 players on the team, so good job by them for signing some shooters. As I already brought up, the intensity. Russell Westbrook, he's gonna be on it. He's not messing around when he plays. It felt like at times last year the Lakers would like kind of play with their food a little bit. They'd get in pretty decent deficits in the first half, end up losing games they should win. It felt like against the Suns they weren't really playing all that intensely. Just just a different vibe. I think Russell Westbrook brings. I'm a pretty big fan of really just his will to win. So that's a really big addition on its own. Then you look at the experience this team's adds. Obviously, those old guys aren't necessarily great for defense and stuff like that, and you can't play them a ton of minutes, but one thing they bring is experience. They're going to know certain situations in the playoffs, in the regular season. Those guys have seen it before, so that's obviously going to help. Team cohesion. Now, this is a really, really big thing. So last season, I didn't feel like the team, maybe team cohesion is the wrong word, but maybe chemistry is a little bit better here. I don't really believe that the Lakers last season were playing as a team. A lot of those guys are gone this year, and that was because they were in contract years. A lot of those guys were playing for their next contract. Harrell and Schroeder, for example, are both, a little bit younger, and they felt like they deserved more money, so they tried to play for it, and I think it could have gotten to their head a little bit, whether that's not necessarily looking for your teammates all the time or even adding pressure on yourself while you're playing. I think that certainly happened with Dennis Schroeder after turning down that 4-year, $84 million deal. I think he, started to play poorly, and then it just kind of, started to stack up on him a little bit in the playoffs where he's like, I didn't play well, I got to play better. And it didn't really pan out like that. This year, there are guys on 1-year deals, but they're not playing for themselves, I don't think. I think they're playing for a ring. That's why these older guys signed with this Lakers team. They're not signing there because they think they're going to get a contract next year even. They're signing there because they want a ring at this point in their career. So I don't think you're going to have those sort of issues like you might have had last year. Another positive is the timing of it. Honestly, there aren't really, super teams in the West right now. You look at the East, you have the Bucks, the Nets. You could even say the Sixers are a very, very good team. I don't know what's happening with Ben Simmons. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard's hurt right now. There's some great competition in the West with, maybe the Warriors bounce back. The Suns obviously were just in the finals. The Jazz had a great record this year, but I don't think those are teams that are necessarily going to beat this Lakers team. When fully healthy, this Lakers team is, I believe, the clear-cut favorite in the West. So the timing of this is great. Now, with additions and positives, there's always going to be some negatives. And so here you go. This Lakers team definitely does have some negatives. I do believe the positives definitely outweigh the negatives, but there are certainly some. So defense. Now, this is weird because the Lakers these last couple of years have been a fantastic defensive team, and they just extended Frank Vogel, who was a very good defensive coach. So I'm really hoping that they can, maintain that defensive basically prowess they had these last couple seasons, even though they didn't retain the same players. Now, they add some of these older guys, like, I've already mentioned them, Carmelo Anthony, Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington. None of those guys are really going to be fantastic defenders because of their age. Now, I know Trevor Ariza, back in, 2010, for example, was a great defender, but it has been 10 years since then. He's still not a bad defender, but he's definitely not good. Carmelo Anthony was never a good defender. Kent Bazemore is, once again, he's 32. He's a little bit older. He's not a great defender either. Wayne Ellington, never a defender. And those young guys that they signed, in Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk, neither of them are great defenders either. Taylor Horton-Tucker gives you a little bit more flexibility, but you are really going to be relying on Anthony Davis this year. And that's not only defensively, that's offensively. So I'm just hoping that, he can kind of withstand that massive role. You're going to need him to basically be like Giannis on defense. He's going to need to be highly switchable. He's going to need to play like a free safety. He's going to have to take the best player in the front court and be able to switch on to the best guards. That's just what he's going to have to be able to do because these role players lack quickness. And, LeBron will occasionally take plays off on defense. I don't think Russell Westbrook is necessarily a great defender. Anthony Davis is really going to have to hold it down on the defensive end. LeBron obviously can get those guys in a position to be great defensively. Anthony Davis is actually going to have to be great defensively, and he's going to have to be healthy. So the fit. This is one thing that I think is a little overblown, but something that definitely is, something that matters. LeBron and Russ, both very, very ball dominant. Who has the ball? Who handles? Because neither of these guys moves very well off the ball. I don't think Russell Westbrook's a very good player if he's off the ball, he can't really shoot. He doesn't cut a whole lot. I mean, he expends a lot of energy, obviously, so it's okay if he's taking a play off here and there. But he doesn't do a lot off the ball. LeBron, on the other hand, I think can be a little bit better off the ball, but his value on the ball is just so high that I would want him on the ball too. So it's a good problem to have because you have two incredible playmakers that are both great on the ball. I would imagine that Russell Westbrook in the regular season will probably handle the ball a little bit more than LeBron. Once it comes to playoff time, maybe you've got Russ quarters 1 through 3, LeBron in the fourth. Maybe it's just strictly LeBron. Russ is going to get better as a cutter. But regardless, it's a great problem to have. It's a little overblown, but it is still an issue. It's hard to have Russell Westbrook out there who can't really shoot threes. LeBron's okay at shooting threes, but he's a lot better off the dribble shooting threes. Just stuff like that. It'll work out. Both of those guys can run a pick and roll with Anthony Davis, and that's honestly all you really need because that's going to be unstoppable. With Russell Westbrook getting downhill and LeBron obviously with his size and a pick and roll and his passing ability. Health. This is another thing. I definitely think Russell Westbrook helps with this just because he doesn't have quite as many injuries. I will say he gets his knee drained every couple off seasons, it feels like. And at the beginning of last year, it seemed like Russell Westbrook was playing injured. But he's going to play through his injuries. That is one thing that's for sure. Will it help the team? Last year it did not help the Wizards. But, he was able to get healthy and turn around eventually. Anthony Davis and LeBron James, on the other hand, were out for massive amounts of time last year. Anthony Davis in the playoffs was also injured. He was a big reason they didn't end up winning that Phoenix series because he was not there to play. So if they can stay healthy, obviously that's with any team, but especially this team just because they have 3 superstars, and outside of that, it's a lot of role players, so they have to be healthy if this team's going to be successful. And then timing-wise, I said it was great in the West, but in the East, it's kind of tough. You've got super teams like the Bucks and Nets. You look at Kyrie, Harden, LeBron, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis. That's going to be a tough finals matchup if those teams can stay healthy and make it that far. But you never know in the NBA playoffs. We saw that this last year. But I would say the Lakers might have had the best offseason in basketball. Anytime you can add a guy like Russell Westbrook and still have a capable team behind him, that is a fantastic deal. So yeah, they're my favorites out of the West this upcoming year. Let me know what y'all think. I just think Russell Westbrook's intensity is going to change this team drastically. It looked like they didn't always have their foot on the gas. With Russell Westbrook, they certainly will. And I think he's going to mesh well with this team. All those guys, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, they've all already met up. I'm not necessarily a big Lakers fan, but I'm excited to watch this team. And even last year, I didn't necessarily enjoy watching the Lakers quite as much, but with Russell Westbrook, this team's going to be fun to watch. So even if they're bad, they're going to be fun to watch. But I wouldn't expect them to be bad whatsoever. So I feel like I'm talking in circles now. But for real, thank you all so much for the support recently. Helps a lot. I believe we're at 416 subscribers. So, if we could add to that number, that would be great. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Peace.